You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And and what could that be in reference to? Unfortunately, we have some sad breaking news to bring you right off the top here of the Red Moon Podcast. Yes, some very sad news indeed. Mr. Keith Cheatham.
An icon has been lost.
Yes. If you could explain.
Peter Mayhew, the original actor for Chewbacca in Star Wars, and pretty much all of them except for the last few that have come out, has passed away, sadly. 74 years old. His family announced that. I mean, he has had a lot of health problems in the last several years, which is why he had to step down from the role of Chewbacca in the last two films anyways. But it is still sad to know that such a huge icon for Star Wars fans and nerds everywhere has gone on. But we pay tribute. That's what this is here for. And it just was announced just a few hours ago.
Yeah.
So we actually managed to get the news right before we went live.
Yeah,
so
this is late breaking. Is what we call.
So we wanted to be.
I was going to say, well, that's what we do here on the Red Moon Podcast.
I heard
we break the news.
Like
we
a
break
lack
the
of
news.
oxygen.
What?
Well,
because he was so tall.
Oh, I don't.
Was that like
too soon?
I mean, the man's been
Too
dead
soon.
for 2 hours.
I know, but I mean,
I mean, what are we
long
doing
enough.
here?
I mean, come on. If it was Trump just died, everybody'd be joking about it.
Well, that's true.
It's
Everybody
true.
be cheering in the streets.
Yeah,
You'd hear
no.
gunshots and pots and
Sorry
pans
for
being
that
banged
joke.
on.
You got to watch those
I
gunshots.
apologize.
You never know what they might hit.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
that's
Speaking of
true.
things dying, I actually have a really funny story.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
And I mean,
yeah.
I'll just try to bring it up with some laughter, but
Well, he said about people shooting in the
look,
streets.
yeah.
You were shooting, but for an entirely different reason.
since my wife and I we moved to this newer house in Bardstown, we're kind of like out in the country a little bit, and we've got trees and everything, wildlife and stuff like that all around us. And a couple of times, actually, the first time was like 3 or 4 years ago. We have this issue with birds at our house. There's a lot of glass windows. Glass windows. Big, like lots of windows in our house. And these birds, I've actually like called Kentucky Fish and Wildlife about this a couple of years ago, but these birds are like hitting my windows.
It's like that Windex commercial.
Well, it's actually
where they like clean them like the
it's
windows
not,
real well.
My windows aren't that clean.
Oh, they're not.
But what
dirty?
causes this is these birds are hitting the windows because they're males and they see their reflection. And they think it's another male, so they're fighting and scratching at my window all day long.
I got you.
So a couple years ago, I had to blow away a cardinal. It's always songbirds. They're the only ones that do this. This year, it was a different kind of songbird. I don't know what it was, but I had to kill a bird yesterday.
Oh my gosh!
Was it a mockingbird?
It was not a mockingbird.
It's a sin to kill a mockingbird.
Basically, like when this happens, I let it go for 3 or 4 days, and then by then I'm just like I can't effing take it anymore. You're gonna have to die.
Yeah.
If you don't stop.
Oh my gosh! Well, it wasn't a cardinal.
No, it was it wasn't a blue jay, but it was some other kind of grayish blue songbird. But he's been banging on my window all week, and yesterday I finally had it. So my son was home, my oldest son was home from school, and we were sitting in the living room, and the bird was scratching, and I just told him, I said, Sawyer, I'm going to have to go get my gun, and I'm going to kill this bird. and he's just like, why? And I was like, because he's banging on the window and pecking at it.
Yeah.
And he's scratching the paint on the outside of the window frame, and I'm like, he's not going to stop, so I'm going to go kill it.
I'm going to put him out of his misery.
So Sawyer says, well, first of all, I went outside for about 10 minutes, waited for him to show up, and blew the feathers off of him.
Oh my God.
Got him real good.
Wait. So was he missing? Like, or did he like fly away or something?
Yeah, he flies away for 10 or 15 minutes, and he comes
he's
back
coming
and
back.
sees himself and gets pissed and starts pecking.
Right.
So I waited for him to come back, and I waited for my shot, and I got my shot, and he's gone. So I come back in, and I told my son, I was like, buddy, I just want to let you know, I got him. I killed the bird. And he says, well, what if his brother comes? What are we going to do then? And I was like, I don't know if he has a brother, but I was like, I think I took care of the problem. And my son just says, I guess we'll just kill his whole family. and then he goes back to watching television like nothing. like dead serious,
happened.
not laughing, not
That's what you gotta
upset,
do.
wasn't being sarcastic. He was just like, I guess we're going to kill his whole family if we have to.
Man, your son is
And
like,
so
that's like
my son's
mob
hardcore.
behavior.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Jeffrey
He's like
Dahmer.
like
Yeah.
Iceman.
Ice,
Man.
yeah,
Yeah,
ooh,
he's like the Iceman.
Yeah, so that's what goes on at my house during the day. I have to kill. I have to hunt and
I'm
kill
just
birds.
picturing.
Kill birds.
It's like
Hmm.
I'm just picturing your son just sitting there, and he's like, I guess we've got to kill his whole family.
And then he turns around. He did. He just literally looks
And
at
then
me
he
and
just,
says
like,
that,
goes-
and then turns back and
We'll
starts watching.
kill them
he's-
all.
Yeah, he was watching. I don't even remember what he was
Cars
watching.
2?
It was like no, it
Cars
was
2?
like Despicable Me or something like
okay.
that. So that's
if
very fitting.
but
but-
if Tiffany Hepburn had you and Sawyer, I'm sure they would have made it out a lot better. And
True.
So you
True.
know.
But yeah, the sucker lands like on the little metal iron bird feeder thing, and as soon as he lands, I had him in my crosshair. I've got a 22 with a scope on it,
Yeah. Oh,
and I had him right in there.
Mhm.
Pop, and you just see feathers like out of a cartoon. Poof, feathers everywhere.
wait. Was there any chance of you? I mean, like, well, for one, I know it's no mystery that your neighbor,
Uh-huh.
he gets a little crazy with his gun sometimes. I mean, for one, this
Yeah.
is Bardstown, Kentucky.
It's
So this
it's
little
rural
south,
area.
yeah, exactly. But there was no chance of you. You know, we want to assure our listeners nobody else could have been harmed.
No,
in
no,
the
no,
killing
no.
of this
First
bird.
of all, it's a 22. I
Yeah.
used a short round, so it's not real
Not
loud.
a hollow point or anything like that.
No, they don't even make 22 hollow points that I know of.
Well, no,
but
they
it's a
do.
short round,
They
so
do.
it's not. It's only about
Yeah.
a half inch long.
They're itty bitty little things.
Itty
Yeah,
bitty
they're
things. They're for
tiny,
killing
yeah.
frogs and
Right.
birds and stuff.
Squirrels, cats.
They might even not kill a squirrel unless you got it pretty good. But it is enough to kill this bird.
It'll
so that's all
it'll
I'm saying.
piss you off if you get shot with one.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not
It-
gonna
oh
feel
yeah,
good. but-
yeah. It would hurt. I mean, but yeah, death.
That's terrible.
Yep.
That was a terrible way to start this show.
I thought it was funny. I
It
thought my
was.
son
I
saying,
will say-
"I
Why
guess
is that
we'll kill his
terrible?
whole
It was-
family," was pretty darn funny coming from
You
a
know,
5-year-old.
Sometimes families die. I mean,
That's right.
the Avengers lost all their family.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
That's true.
But they didn't lose everybody.
not everybody. Some of them
Should we?
survived.
I don't want to spoil anything before the review.
No.
No,
So
I'm just
I
talking about with the way Infinity War left off.
Yeah.
Right,
But,
right,
you know,
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
I
With
mean-
where it left off and where we left off last week, which I guess we got to bring up this,
Yes.
bring everybody to the attention
Another
of what happened
icebreaker.
to
Somebody does not want us to finish our conversations.
You know, Thanos was still alive last week
Yeah.
when we
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
ended our show, and he tried to snap us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know it stopped our live
Cut
stream.
our live stream off. Then
completely
after the movie, we tried to go live from
In
the
the car,
van
yeah.
in the car, and
like every
and
time.
it cut us off there too.
Yeah,
every time
every
we wanted
time.
to discuss Endgame, he was like, "No," but
it didn't
we're
work.
back now.
We're back.
Are we?
I hope. Anybody out there tell us if the live
Yeah.
stream is down? They wouldn't know. I mean, but hopefully they're going to be able to enjoy the review that we have coming for you because now we can finally officially tell you
Yes.
our thoughts on Avengers Endgame.
Indeed.
Should we just go ahead and
I
get
said
right
we
into
get right
it?
in.
Roll
into it.
that review.
Absolutely.
In 2008, no one could have expected the massive franchise that would become the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When Robert Downey Jr. first put on the armor that would make him Iron Man, everyone expected the usual superhero trope, maybe a trilogy of movies, but when the credits rolled and Samuel L. Jackson stepped out, fans knew something bigger was coming. Of course, 2012 brought us Avengers, and it was the biggest undertaking in film history. To take 4 separate franchises and cross them over. Again, however, Marvel had something bigger in mind. Now here we are, Marvel's 22nd film and the culmination of everything started all those years ago. Already breaking every record imaginable, Avengers Endgame has finally arrived. Directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who had previously directed Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, and Avengers Infinity War for Marvel, Endgame is, no pun intended, a marvel. Picking up the pieces of Infinity War, Endgame begins with our heroes completely defeated. Physically, mentally, and emotionally. Endgame is the bleakest Marvel film to date, as well it should be. However, even amongst the somber scenes, the Russos managed to infuse the humor Marvel has become so well known for into the story. We see our heroes devise a plan, thanks to a bit of luck and a lot of determination, that will send them traveling throughout the MCU's past to undo what Thanos has done in Infinity War. And the entire ride is a blast. Avengers Endgame is both a perfect culmination of every Marvel film before it, and at the same time, something entirely unique from any Marvel film in the past. This honestly caught me off guard, as this late into the game, I expected a pretty straightforward wrap-up. And in some ways, when the narrative takes too much time on paying homage to the past, I wish it had been more straightforward. But for the bulk of the film, it was refreshing to see those expectations flipped. The film is 3 hours long and still manages to feel like it needed more time to flesh out ideas, which is certainly frustrating, though it does lull in the middle while the Avengers travel throughout the past. It's a hard balance to nail, as this film needs to wrap up so many major plot lines and is already longer than any Marvel film before it. But the Russos have done a solid job. It's not perfect, but with so much plot to work with, they certainly accomplished something epic. On wrapping up plots, Endgame truly does shine. Being the culmination of 21 previous films puts a lot of pressure on this one entry, and yet the Russos and writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely handle the character arcs beautifully, especially that of the original core Avengers. Seeing where each of the original characters' plots began so many films ago, and how they end in this film is one of the most exciting points of Endgame. And with the exception of maybe one character I will not name for spoiler purposes, I felt the film did justice to the original group's plot and character arcs. Special effects, as always for Marvel, are impeccable, and just like the plot, the effects in this film are a perfect culmination of everything Marvel Studios has mastered in the past. We are treated to de-aging of characters, the aging of characters, and of course CGI characters that look real and epic fight scenes with terrific choreography. The spectacle is definitely here, and the only gripe I have, which is more of a nitpick, is I wish there had been more of it. The film definitely has a slower start, and we don't truly get to see our characters go all out until the last third of the film. And while the build-up to see some heavy action starts to get a little tedious, the Russos do finally treat the audience to one of the most epic scenes in Marvel history at the perfect time, and more than make up for the film's first half. There are a few small plot points that at first glance seem like inconsistencies, but they are small in the grand scheme of things, and also left open in such a way that perhaps they are less likely to be plot holes and more likely to be questions set up for the future to answer. Because while Endgame is most assuredly an ending, it's also definitely a beginning. The focus of the film is on wrapping up the major plot lines of Marvel's first 3 phases. But while the Infinity Saga may be over, Marvel's cinematic universe is far from it. With this being such a perfect end, I did appreciate the fact that if you pay attention to the subtle plot threads started in the film, you could see Marvel quietly setting up a whole new world. Still, these unanswered questions make Endgame feel less than whole, and while it doesn't affect its overall quality, it's not a great move to make your film feel as if it has inconsistencies, even if these inconsistencies will be answered in the future. With that said, the film is unquestionably one of Marvel's best, and ultimately does offer a satisfying conclusion to this era of the MCU. I give Avengers Endgame 3.5 out of 4 stars. Yes. Yes. 3.5 out of 4 stars.
That was a great review.
I thought I tried my best with that one.
That was a good one.
I did. And I enjoyed writing it. But
some of them suck, but that was good.
Yeah. I think sometimes
Most of them.
Sometimes I sit there and I think,
I'm just kidding.
what is the least amount of thought I can put into this? And that's what I do. But for Endgame,
We went above and beyond.
That was good.
But yeah, definitely still had, like I mentioned in the review, there were still issues. I mean, it wasn't a perfect movie by any means.
Right.
And it's not even my favorite Marvel movie by any means, but it is still one of their better movies, and it's still a great ending. I felt like, despite some of the issues that may have been there, as a wrap-up for all of these movies, it did exactly what it needed and promised. And for that, I greatly enjoyed it.
And that's difficult for any studio to do, and the writers to come up with a way to end 22 films. Or I mean, this is the 22nd, but
this is the 22nd.
To come up with a way to wrap all of those films into one story and finish them with a grand finale that satisfies not only just the casual moviegoer, but also the hardcore fan. I think they did like a very exquisite job doing that.
No doubt.
For someone who went and saw every single one of these movies in theater, sometimes more than once.
Yeah.
I was extremely happy with
Well,
this,
I was going to
how
say
this ended.
that was kind of my.
Yeah.
It's weird because we had no doubt. We all mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
That we were expecting it to at least meet our expectations.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
But I really thoroughly. It was actually the one movie in a long time where I was really, really hoping for, like, as the trailer started before the movie, I kept, like, usually I'm really enthralled and I want to see what's coming out and what's ahead.
the trailers,
and,
yeah,
especially for a movie like this, it's like, man, these trailers are probably going to be something I haven't seen before. But this was one movie where I was like, I just want to get to the movie.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I'm ready for this thing.
And there
to
was
begin.
30 minutes of trailer.
There was.
exactly.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
And they knew it. You knew it was coming
Yeah.
because of it being in game.
And honestly,
but
none of the trailers compare. Like, I remember Star Wars being attached,
Godzilla.
but that's Godzilla. Yes,
Yeah.
Yep.
Star Wars and Godzilla. But I mean,
and
other
I will
than
say,
that,
Star Wars was probably the only one I was okay with. Star Wars was the one where I was like, because I'd already seen it. It was
Yeah,
the
but
same
seeing
one
it
we've
on
all seen.
IMAX screen was
Totally
pretty good
different.
too. Yeah.
just epic. Well, I mean, same
Yeah.
with Godzilla.
Yeah,
IMAX
yeah,
was-
that's going to be one that we're going to have to see. But let's talk about Endgame.
Yes,
I know,
indeed.
I know.
Forget the
Indeed. We're getting a little
trailers. Forget the
sidetracked.
trailers. Brandon, when we came out of the movie, you said it exceeded your expectations.
Absolutely. That was
So, and I think that's kind of like how I felt about it too. Of course, we all have questions, and of course, we all have some gripes.
yeah.
But as far as the film in a whole, like it definitely, I'm with you. It exceeded my
Right.
expectations.
I mean, I don't know. There were just so many moments. I mean, from the very outset. Okay, for one, we're gonna get it out of the way right now. Okay, spoiler alert.
Yes.
Spoiler alert! If you are watching right now and you have not seen
If
Avengers
you
Endgame,
have not seen the movie, do not continue watching us any further.
just come back in
We'll
about
come back in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Don't say
come
not
back
watch
in
us.
a
True.
half hour.
Come back, yeah, in
Half
30
hour,
minutes.
yeah,
It's
that's
like-
gonna knock out some of our viewers right there because
Yeah,
they don't want
yeah.
to listen to us talk for 30 minutes.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
we're just okay. It'll probably be about a good 5-10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because truth be told, like this is our review discussion, but it's also our headline of the week.
Yes.
Because no question about it. We knew it was going to be
What other
huge.
major news is out right now?
Right, exactly.
Sonic
Well,
the Hedgehog? Yeah, that's
right.
major.
Peter Mayhew dying.
Well, we mentioned
already
that.
covered that.
We covered
I
that.
brought the yeah.
We
just
gave
saying.
him the 2
Yeah.
minutes he deserves.
He did.
All right, I'm just saying there is news. Okay.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
He died.
Sorry, I didn't
and
mean to
we
bring it down
acknowledge.
again. Okay, back to Avengers
You
Endgame.
know who else died? Lots of people.
Yeah.
Well, in
Yeah.
Infinity War, and then they came
yeah.
back.
And then they came back.
Yeah.
But
So-
some people didn't. And
Yeah.
some people
Are gone for good.
have
We'll get there.
Let's
recently
save
died.
that towards the end of our
Yeah, yeah, no,
discussion.
absolutely.
But as far as those who came back, how do you feel about the fact that it was? Do you think that it was pretty straightforward and simple for them to get the Avengers back in the film? Like, do you? I kind of felt like their method of getting those people back using the quantum realm was something that we kind of all already expected, and it
Right.
was very
I
simple.
think it was expected. I don't know about simple. I mean, I like the way they went about doing it. I knew going in. I mean, I think everybody knew going in that there was definitely going to be some type of time travel involved.
Right.
I mean, everybody pretty much already guessed that at one point.
Yeah.
I think what really disappointed me the most isn't how they did it, because we expected that. My thing was we knew the quantum realm would be involved. We knew the Infinity Stones would be involved.
Mhm.
So it was the how they were going to do all of this. And how they did it was fine. It's just the fact that Ant-Man and the Wasp left off with him trapped in the quantum realm. And I didn't like the Deus Ex Machina of a rat just happening
Bumping onto it,
bumping
yeah.
to- and
Yeah.
and I was like, I wish they had found a more creative way for him
Yeah.
to get out of the
Right.
quantum realm.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, like how they did it was fine. I just felt like that was just a little too
See,
easy.
I don't know. I kind of disagree.
Really?
Because I liked, for one, this goes back to just how the setting of the film in general,
Mhm.
what I liked from just the outset. Because truthfully, I thought it was just fantastic how they introduce. Well, we haven't seen Hawkeye for all of Infinity War.
Yeah.
And then boom, that's where the movie picks up.
I did like
So
that. a lot.
I loved how
Yeah.
it just cuts in and boom, you're already hitting the ground running, and you know what's coming.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know they're setting it up.
Everybody, you get people wouldn't shut up. I was like, stop
Yep.
talking.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just watch it because everybody's like,
everybody-
his family's gonna die. His
His
family's gonna
disappear.
die.
It's like, yeah, we know the snap's already happened. We
Yeah.
know this is what's coming.
Yeah.
But even still, it was like the emotional tone there, and then they pick it up even more with like kind of blowing your expectation, or at least they're blowing your expectations in terms of what you think is coming with Thanos at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I love the route they took there. And again, spoiler alert. So I'm trying to skirt around the spoilers, but I'm just
No,
going to
I get it. I agree.
So basically, they find out where Thanos is. That was the only part I didn't like in the beginning of the movie, is where they find out how easily
they find him. Yeah.
But again, it's a 3-hour movie, so I was like, by the end of the movie, I was like, okay, I could see why they just jumped to it real quick. But yeah, so they find out where Thanos is, and then they just jump there and immediately kill him. Yeah. And it's like,
Thor went for the head.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I agree. I love that, because you're not expecting, is like, no one went in expecting, the main villain to die in the first 5 minutes of the film.
Right.
And so, but apart from that, then you go to 5 years later.
Yeah.
And 5 years later, they really, really set the mood in for what I loved in exactly what you would expect to happen to life. Had half of the population disappear.
Yeah.
You have cities that are pretty much just broken down and torn apart because they're
if
nobody's
half
around.
the population, the economy would completely
collapse.
fail.
Well, and it says it's like, they mention it at the beginning about not only economies but governments around the world and it's basically every man for himself.
Yeah,
you still have a sense of community for those who are left, but it's just like the normal upkeep of things can't take place.
Yep.
You have memorials that have been instituted for those who have lost. They call them the
Vanished.
The Vanished.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just the perfect tone for what I expected or what I wanted to see for all of these movies. It's like we always talk about how there's death and destruction, and like sometimes it seems like one movie ends and another one picks up, and you never see the repercussions of those things taking place.
This actually had those repercussions.
And immediately within, like, that is the first half hour.
That was one
of
of my
the film.
Infinity War ends with no hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it ends with this bleak outlook that there's no coming back. Like, there's no hope. And then the Endgame starts out
just
very
like that.
similar.
Yeah.
Right.
Even after Thanos is decapitated, you're still kind of like, well, we just screwed up our last chance at finding out where the stones are,
right?
And or how to get them back.
And
that
I think
matter.
at that point, what I love though was it was like that was their thought at first, but then at the same time they were like, even if there is no hope, we're at least getting rid of this evil.
And
that's what I love. They didn't give him a chance. Yeah. It's like he had already had enough of a chance.
Yeah, and they
don't get me wrong. I think the rest of them wanted to talk to him a little bit longer.
Oh yeah,
but Thor overreacted.
But it was funny
too
because
quickly.
as soon as Thor comes in and cuts his head off and they're pissed, they're just kind of like,
well, there's nothing.
Screw it.
Okay, yeah.
At that point, they're like, well, the stone's already destroyed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure, like you said, they wanted to talk to him and see if there was some any other
they
way.
wanted to interrogate him a little bit. I mean,
but
they had him dead to rights.
I do love the fact that they are now in this world where they have lost and they have to move on because they're at that point they don't think there is a way to go back. There isn't a way to undo what has been done.
Right. So they're just establishing like this last.
And that's
line
what I loved about
justice.
the Ant-Man scene when he finally does come into play and he's been gone. For him, he said it's only a couple hours, but in the world outside,
he hasn't had time to become depressed.
Yeah.
So he comes back
and
ready
it's 5 years later, and he doesn't realize 5 years has passed and everybody's gone. And I loved him walking through this world being like he asked the kid, he's like, what happened here? Because everything's just in disarray. And when he finds the memorial and he's looking at all the names and he's panicking because he wants to make sure his daughter's not on that list. And I'm like, it was
another beautiful moment of just him not seeing his daughter's name on that list and him running back hoping she's still in the same place.
Which, while you're talking about that, fantastic performance by Paul Rudd. Though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the Ant-Man has throughout both of his films, he's a comedian.
Yeah.
And in this movie, for a brief period of time.
Oh, yeah.
He adds that emotion.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He turns it on, and it was fantastic when he reunites with his
but
daughter.
Okay, and specifically talking about the Paul Rudd moment with the rat. The reason why I liked it was because with the 5 years passing, to me, I kind of enjoyed the fact that it was just a random happenstance that brought him back. Yeah. And it was like so much time.
It was stroke of luck.
And
that's their whole mission is just a stroke of luck.
Right.
I will say the fact that it did take 5 years for something to finally cross that.
It wasn't like it happened at the right time.
You do have a point. It's not like, it just like an hour later something happened to press that button.
And not only that,
the van itself was like in
impounded.
an impound. You can't tell me somebody didn't open that van and push all them buttons.
Well,
You know, I
yeah,
mean, anybody
true.
would have walked in
Maybe.
there and been like, "Well, what's this do?" And push buttons.
But maybe, and it was like
But
that's
the wrong
thing.
button. You know, I don't
exactly.
know.
Maybe
It's
it was
just a stroke of luck.
and that's what I liked about
Yeah.
it was that not only was it just a stroke of luck, but it was like there are things that had to happen too. I mean,
Oh,
if
yeah,
he had
yeah.
never come back from the quantum realm and had been lost forever,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, Thanos would have been dead. They were already going on with their life, like we had seen.
Yeah.
There was no reason
They
for
would have
him
just-
to return.
They would have just moved on. yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
And so that's the reason why I kind of I didn't mind that aspect of it. I thought it was kind of a perfect way of saying, look, sometimes, as much shit happens in the world, it's like
Sometimes
every
you
once
catch
in
a
while-
lucky break.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
could-
One
I
of our
could maybe get behind
one
that.
of our
yeah.
viewers commented that he had a problem with how it took Tony Stark only like a couple seconds to solve the quantum problem.
That didn't bother
and
me.
and as if he's not been thinking about it for
Right.
for 5 years. It was too simple, but in the film it does say, I mean, Tony says, "I've already thought of this. I've already gone over it 1,000
Yes.
times."
Yeah.
But he does plug it into his computer, and his computer figures it out in 30 seconds.
Right.
So it's like you're telling me you didn't run it through your model 1,000 times over and it come up.
Well,
that
I mean, he
this'll
did.
work?
Like, it did show like kind of like a light bulb idea where he's like, "Well, try it this way," and that's when it worked. So I do think that didn't bother me because I mean that just goes into kind of superhero tropes and the fact that
Yeah.
some of these characters like Tony are smarter than anybody alive in the real world.
Yeah.
And like he said, I mean, there's never been a problem that Tony just walked away from.
It's kinda
If
funny,
there's
though,
if
that
there's
the-
a problem, he has to
The
solve
economy
it.
has
Right.
completely collapsed, but Tony Stark's still a billionaire.
Well, I'm sure.
Well, not only
Well, I
that,
mean,
but
that's
it's
his
just like-
money. Well, I mean,
but if you
Yeah.
look at his setting though, and the fact that
He
he's kind of
is-
secluded out in
Yeah.
the woods, got his cabin, he's really divorced himself from all of the society.
Yeah.
Only because it's like, look, he truly was the one person who came in to this saying, I mean, that was the whole argument with him against Captain America.
Well, he said, "I
Yeah.
told you
And
all." Yeah.
exactly. And so he had it out for Captain America, even coming back with the harebrained idea of doing,
Yeah.
going through the quantum realm and trying to do time travel.
Yeah.
It was like his way of being like, look, we've been there, we've done it, we've lost. It's your all's fault we lost. I tried to tell you all, or I tried to tell you long before
Well, and some of
this
that was
we
his
had a
arrogance
chance.
too.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
I mean, but that's Tony Stark.
Yeah.
But it's like, to
but
me,
his biggest thing too was he wanted to make sure that it wasn't just that he was unwilling to help do the time travel thing. His thing was too he had a daughter now, and
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
he did,
He had a family
He didn't
now.
want to undo that.
right, and right, and exactly, and I think all the motivations of every character, like you said, they could have done a really straightforward job of wrapping this.
They could
up.
have, yeah.
But from the moment the movie begins with setting the tone of what has really happened and the weight that not only humanity itself has taken on because of this, but then they themselves who feel ultimately responsible.
Yeah.
It really is one of those situations where it was like it just had the perfect setup for everything that was to come and that was to follow, and just the way they also, so to me, I don't know, I didn't mind the way they kind of just jumped back in to
Yeah.
certain things, like finding Thanos real quick, like finding out the time travel.
Yeah.
I mean, with
I
a
would've liked for
3-hour
them
long
to-
film,
They
had to
you
move quick.
realize,
I get it. Yeah.
right, and by the end of it, you're okay with them kind of maybe rushing through those things. It's
Yeah.
like the first time you're sitting there, it seems rushed, but then after the movie ends, you're kind of like, okay, no, I can forego
I'm
that.
more okay with it because at this point, after 21 films and knowing who the characters are, I could feasibly believe, like,
Yes.
Tony
Well,
found the answer.
they've saved the universe
Yeah.
a couple of times
If
already.
this had been,
So-
Yeah.
if this had been an earlier Marvel film and Tony just came up with an answer that quick, I might have
Yeah.
been like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Right.
But knowing that we've seen these characters
Right.
come
I
up
was
with
gonna
so
say,
much,
The development is there. The
Yeah.
development's been done, and we
And
know who
you
these
can
characters
you can
are.
nitpick the movie to a pretty far degree. I mean, I read one article that talked about how the Audi that he shows up in front of Captain America is like the newest
Product
Audi.
placement.
Yeah, and it's just
I mean,
like, well,
as soon as it pulls
if
up,
the,
it's
again,
like,
if the economy's collapsed,
How
the
they make a new
production of a
Audi,
car like
yeah.
that would not exist. So how did he have it?
he
How
had
did
it.
he
It
have
was
the
a
new-
futuristic car to begin.
I know.
with.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, people
Yeah.
have nitpicked the piss out of this movie
Yeah.
in regards to little details like
Like
that.
that, yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, though, the way the story plays out is pretty tight. I mean, there's not a lot of holes in the story. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things you could ask questions about, but then, we sat outside for an hour and a half earlier talking about the movie with the neighbors and stuff, and it's just like I have questions, but then somebody has an answer for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Whether that answer is
Well,
100%
exactly.
accurate or not, we all have a way that we can explain some
Well,
of these
and
things.
that-
And I
that
think
to me-
that's great writing.
Ex-
It's leaving it
exactly.
open for
I was going to say,
multiple
anytime
explanations.
you have anything that's open-ended, but open-ended enough that you can explain
it's not
it.
a plot hole.
Exactly.
It's just your imagination.
And to be
Exactly.
fair, like Anthony Russo has come out because people have some of these questions. He said, "Yeah, we've seen a lot of these questions you have, and trust us, those questions weren't left unanswered by accident." Like he said, like as much as this was an ending, we were knowingly creating threads that lead into the future.
Right.
So a lot of these questions that people are coming up with, he's saying will be addressed. It's just at a later time.
Yeah, we have more movies coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Well,
This may be the end of the Avengers story arc, but it's not the end of
Marvel. Yeah.
Right,
We have
right.
more movies
Yeah.
and we have multiple miniseries and shows coming up on DC streaming service. So I mean, they definitely
DC?
have, or not DC.
Whoa.
Me and
Woo,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's
Better
Brad's
watch it, cool
fault.
it.
We were talking about Swamp Thing.
We're
earlier, so
talking
that's
about DC streaming service, or Disney's
Yeah.
streaming service, because we already know Loki's getting his own series.
Black
Falcon
Widow's
and
going to have a movie.
Black Widow's having a movie coming out. Falcon and Winter Soldier have their own miniseries coming to the streaming service. So definitely there's things you could see in the movie knowing that, where like certain plots
Spider-Man
lead.
is going to be our next, and that's actually, according to
Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige, the Spider-Man Far From Home will be the true
First-
end.
No, it's the end of
okay,
phase
it's going to
3.
be the
But I
end
mean, I was
of-
going to say it's
yeah.
the first movie that is
post
continuing
Endgame, but he said
Right.
it's
the
actually
end of-
definitively the end.
He
of
said
the
it's
story.
three.
it's
Yeah.
the last film in phase 3.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad in a sense. It's like, well, at least it, because we knew it was coming, and we've already seen trailers for it, but it actually makes it worth seeing because it kind of is. Now you're intrigued of
Because now you're like,
just
how
like
do
you
these
were
people...
intrigued with Infinity War of like how they're going to bring everybody back. It's like, well, now that Endgame's over,
How does the world move on?
yeah,
like
how-
everybody's
exactly.
back, but these people have been gone for 5 years. And that's another thing because the trailers for Far From Home show Spider-Man with his classmates. So it's like, so wait a minute, they should be 5 years older, or did they all get dusted? I
Right.
mean, and so it is going to be interesting to see how they tackle those questions because I mean they have stated that they will be answered. We just
Right.
don't know how they're going to be
Yeah.
answered.
So as far as spoilers go,
here we go.
I've just
I
put
mean,
out.
We've given.
I just
plenty of
put out
time.
another warning because there's new people popping up and watching, and I
Yeah.
know that they haven't seen the movie. so,
Spoiler alert for Endgame.
as far as spoilers go, the deaths that take place in this movie.
This is good.
How do you feel about the characters that passed?
Well, we can go ahead and say there's really only
There's
two.
only
There's
two.
two.
There's
yeah,
only
but
two
they're two
deaths.
major characters.
They are
They
two
are.
major characters.
They are.
One I loved, the other I didn't mind them dying. I was okay with them sacrificing themselves. I just felt like it wasn't done in an emotional like I felt like okay, well I guess we could say it. Black Widow, could we say
I've put out the alerts twice,
yeah.
so if you're watching this and you're not afraid of if you're afraid of spoilers, sorry.
don't listen.
Don't listen.
Stop.
her death I didn't feel was unwarranted. Like I thought that was a good end to her character arc
Right,
based
but there
off
was,
of
I
the things
felt
set up.
nothing.
But I felt like they didn't build it well in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yes.
No.
Well, I mean, we know too, just from the way that the scene was set up, because of how it was played out in Infinity
Well,
War.
we know they both
when
go
they go
to
get the
Vormir
Soul
for
Stone.
the
Yeah,
Soul
as soon as they
Stone.
go
Yeah.
there, you're like, well, one of them's got to die.
Have
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah.
at that point, when I saw both Hawkeye and
I
Black
honestly
Widow, I
thought
was
it
like,
would be Hawkeye.
well, I thought it would be Hawkeye, but I was just like, I didn't care.
Yeah.
At that point, I was just like, I don't really
I thought
care who dies.
knowing that if he died and they got the stone, that his wife and kids would be saved, I thought he would go.
Yeah.
Now they both try to go willingly, but they
Right.
fight
Now,
over
I
whose
did care
responsibility it's
because
going to be.
I do like the character of Black Widow enough based on like her story arc that I was like, oh wow, that's a major death.
Well, it
but
was weird
I just
too
felt like it
because-
didn't have the emotional pull it should.
Yes,
yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
weird because I felt like that they tried too quickly to rehash the emotional, ties between these two characters that you
Yes.
hadn't seen for so long.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because honestly, the way they act, if you had never seen another, well, for one, if you hadn't seen any of the other Marvel movies, you'd probably be lost anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting because they made it seem like they were more romantically involved, even though they
they're
aren't.
not. Yeah.
And I was a little bit thrown off by that because I'm like, wait, we just see his family disappear at the beginning of this movie,
Right.
and we're completely shattered by the
Yeah.
fact that he's in love with his wife, and he sees her and
kids,
her kids
yeah.
disappear. I'm like, how does he have these romantic feelings all of a sudden for Black Widow?
Right, that was
and
one
it's
of the
not
things
like
I
that at all.
struggled
Yeah.
with about it. Is I'm just like, whoever falls, it has to be a sacrifice, and it has to be someone that you love. Like Thanos loves his daughter, so when he sacrifices her to get the Soul Stone, you're kind of like, okay, that's fine. But if she would have knocked him off of there, then there would have been no Soul Stone because she did not love him at all, not even as a father. So it's kind of like that's how I was thinking. I was caught up in. I was like, wait a minute now, did Hawkeye have some kind of feelings for her?
I would say that they do
but
love each other.
It's more like a
it's a brotherly, sisterly
love.
And
I do think if one of them were to sacrifice the other, it would work because I do think that love connection is there. But my main problem is neither one of them sacrificed the other. She sacrificed herself, and I was like, does that count? Because I mean,
I think
that's true. I mean, ultimately, he had to let go.
That's true.
But I do
she
think,
forced him to.
But I was gonna say, I think
the
way they played the scene out.
Yeah,
I think it made sense that both of them were trying to showcase the love that they had for one another for the sacrifice.
Because, like you said, the last time you'd seen them together would have been Civil War, and that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I do wish they had set it up just a little bit better. But other than that, like I said, I don't think that story arc was bad. I just think the way they went about doing it just wasn't.
To me, it would have made more sense to me to send her and Hulk.
I would have liked that more.
And then her sacrificing herself.
Yeah.
Because there was a true love there between them two.
They should have sent them both there. But Hulk sacrificed himself because he wouldn't have died. If he had thrown himself off the thing, he would have lived. But he sacrificed himself, so I don't know.
The death has to be there. Or
but it would have been cool if he had thrown himself off and then turned into Bruce Banner completely, if he could control it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then he dies. That would have been cool.
Yeah. He can't really control it anymore.
Well, he controls it now, so yeah.
I think he could go back. Can he? I don't know. That's just...
No, we don't get to
Okay, final warning. Final warning.
This is a major
spoiler.
Yep.
Massive.
So how do we feel about the biggest, baddest death, the most heart-wrenching of the film?
Iron Man
finally
dies.
I loved it because I thought it capped his character off because he went from being this
capped.
Man, yeah. He just went from being someone who was a very selfish person who only thought of himself, and then over the course of all these movies, you see his character arc grow to becoming no longer selfish, and then getting into that paranoia, and then finally accepting that, I mean, I'm going to steal our friend Brad, his words, because he made a perfect point when we were talking about earlier. He talked about in the first Avengers, Captain America tells Tony, he's like, you're not the guy to lay your life down on the wire, and Iron Man's like, well, no, I would just cut the wire. And finally you see him in this movie, he's like, that's exactly what he does. He lays his life down to protect everyone else because it doesn't. He's more concerned with his family now and making sure they can go on than.
Which is interesting too, because you would think especially with his hallmark moment at the beginning of resisting any kind of futile way of fighting this evil that's already been taken over. It's already taken over the earth. It's like his way of coming back and really proving that he is truly a man of heart and love and courage and bravery is to finally say, okay, there is nothing greater than a man who lays down his life for his friends. And it's like, it's just beautiful in the sense that to me, it's
so
beautiful.
The growth of his character is beautiful.
And it's such a full circle to know that we started these Marvel movies with Iron Man.
And
to
this
see his
story
arrogance
wraps up through him.
It wraps up through him, and for him to not only come full circle, but yes, be that sacrifice that brings that ultimate peace to everyone else when he has really the most to lose because he just started his family. And even that's been a point of contention with him and Pepper Potts throughout the many movies they've been together. That's always been the, do you want to start a family? Are you really willing to settle down and sacrifice yourself for someone like that? And here he is having a kid. And yet he chooses to, truly ultimately sacrifice himself for humanity.
Well, it's kind of funny, even at the beginning of Infinity War, he's talking to Pepper and talking about how he had a dream that they had a kid and everything. And she says, she, to a certain extent, I'm paraphrasing, but she says, like, we can't do that because of that thing on your chest. Like, you're still not ready to give up being Iron Man.
Yes.
So you can't be the family man.
Yeah.
And the fact that he, in order to have the family and maintain their life, he is willing to give up being Iron Man and stop self-preservation and lay his life on the line, finally.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of ironic, though, that for him to give up being Iron Man is to die. And that's why at the very end, before he goes, he says, I am Iron Man.
Yeah. And I was going to say,
that's who he is.
That's
who Tony is.
Fun fact about that was not in the original script.
Really?
I Am Iron Man was not.
It was improv?
No, he didn't improv it. Someone else gave them that line. I think it was
That's
one of the.
right. No. I think I want to say I heard this story. It was like a 6-year-old boy.
No. That was
something else.
That was Thor.
Thor.
A
okay.
6-year-old
Thor.
kid on set told Thor, "You should say he's a friend from work," and that
Yeah.
was a popular.
That was
About
in Thor
Thor
Ragnarok.
This,
Okay,
I think it was one of the people working on set. Apparently, Joe and Anthony Russo knew that they had to. Like, he couldn't just snap and it be over. They knew, it's Iron Man. He's
gotta
not
say
just
something,
He's
yeah.
gonna, he's gonna die with a quip. And they're like, so he has to say something, and they couldn't think of what to say. There, and then of course it seems so obvious now because throughout the movie, Thanos is like, "I am inevitable," and when he delivers that line, "I am inevitable," one of the people working on set was like, "Well, he should say, I am Iron Man," and it's
Yes.
perfect. And it's perfect.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
Beautiful.
because the end of the first Iron Man, that's his line.
That's
I am Iron
the
Man.
way he finished.
So and
it.
it was so perfect. It's like, I can't believe that that's a line that was not even in the original script.
Yeah.
But
It made that scene.
Yes,
though,
yes, it
completely.
did.
Yeah.
And it was also just perfectly like the pause and the timing.
Yes.
Because honestly, it
was the
weird
last
the way it
thing
was said,
they filmed.
It was weird. I did not see him saying it,
Yeah.
even though it makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just did. But you're saying it was the last thing filmed
Because they
which is even more
they
incredible.
filmed it without any line, and they knew he had to say something. So when they did pickups and everything, they finally, the very last thing they filmed, and they said it was the very last
That's
thing that
fitting.
because it was the very last thing that got edited. They said it was the last thing that finally made it into
That's
the movie
crazy.
was him saying, "I am Iron Man." I was like, that is so awesome.
That's like Lord of the Rings when
Yeah.
the last thing the last shot that they got edited for special effects was the ring melting.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, I don't know.
is.
I
That
just
is.
something
That's
about
awesome.
that. That's just like cool little tidbits.
yeah,
of
yeah,
like
it's,
that.
it's
yeah.
awesome.
It just matches the same emotional impact when you see the film.
yeah.
Yeah.
When it's done like that in real life.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. Look, so we've really
And there
gone
has.
on
and
way,
there's so much more we
way
could say.
longer
Yeah.
about Avengers
We've
Endgame,
only just scratched the surface.
but it is a
Yeah.
fantastic movie, obviously destroying the box office right now. $1.2 billion in just the first weekend. No sign of
they
stopping
did it
anytime
was
soon.
it 5 days?
5 days,
Yeah.
just 5 days.
5 days
Yeah.
they hit 1.2 billion.
But
That's
in the
incredible.
first weekend, it was 357 million.
Right?
Right? In the first weekend.
357 million
Domestic.
domestically.
Yeah,
Domestic.
yeah,
Crushing the
domestic.
domestic box
Yeah.
office numbers. They're already putting it on pace to top the most or highest grossing film in the or domestically, which is Star Wars Force Awakens
Yeah.
at like 900 million. So as long as it crosses the $1 billion mark,
Yeah.
then it'll have no problems. No problems.
I
at
feel
least
confident
crushing
it'll
that.
end up at least the second highest gross. I still have doubts that it can beat Avatar, but I feel it'll at least be the second highest grossing
Yes.
film of all time. So.
Which would not, yeah.
I would
wouldn't hate
love.
that at
I
all.
would
That'd be
love
nice.
if it could topple Avatar.
Oh,
It would be
yeah.
fantastic because it is a far it's a more worthy film to be in that top spot, and it is definitely worth seeing. Go check it out. 3.5 stars from here on the Red Moon
We all
Podcast.
agree on 3.5 stars.
Just absolutely loved it. All right, guys.
we got to move on.
Because honestly, we did talk about that for so long. I think we're ready to just move right into our relationship segment. Can you believe it? We're already on to our unique weekly segment.
Whoa!
It's so crazy.
Relationships.
That's right. Let's roll it.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Oh, isn't that so beautiful? Isn't that so sweet?
It's pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Relationships. Now, before we dive in, I'm gonna go back to Avengers real quick.
Oh, God.
I just teased everybody with our relationships open. No, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever you have, whatever opinions you may have on Avengers Endgame, email us at rmPodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Where?
I'll say it again. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Let me pull up the lower. I can do that.
You got to read it? You don't know?
rmPodcast@redmoonproductions.com right there. You could just do that, or you could just hit all of our social media stuff on air. You could like, share, subscribe to all of our wonderful content on social media. Again, if you have anything to say about Avengers Endgame and you want to add your own 2 cents, we'd love to hear from you. So again, like, subscribe, share all of our content,
We've already
and
had
reach
several
out to us.
comments in our live feed right now.
I can't wait to go back and read
Yeah,
them.
we're
I
going to
can't
go back
wait.
and check them out.
So until then, though, we're not wrapping up the show, guys. Don't worry. I'm not going to tease you like that. So we do have our relationship segment. I think it's a pretty good one this week, guys. So
Lay it on us.
it could be a little bit. I don't know. I'm interested to see what y'all think about this. How you feel. because Sean, you're already married.
At last I checked.
The
Yeah.
last you checked. I mean,
I see
mean,
a
you
wedding
could.
band.
There's days that I don't know. But
Well, I was gonna say, she make it interesting for you. You know, depending on how good of a husband you are that day.
discussion for another time.
All right. So the discussion I have for Keith and I and you now being married of how many? 12 years, Sean?
No, 11.
11 years. 11 years. Is
Almost.
Would you be? That's a terrible way to say it. Could you be with someone that has differing views?
It would depend on what kind of views you're talking about.
Like, good question. Good. We're gonna decipher
There's
those.
multiple ways, like political views, religious views.
Religious views, no.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. That's hitting. That's
Flat no.
That's a good one.
getting the heavy hitter right off the
Right
bat.
there, yeah.
So go ahead and dive right into that, Sean.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to put me
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean,
spot.
Apparently,
you were
it's your show
the-
now.
Yeah, you
Well,
had an answer
okay.
like right out of the gate.
Yeah,
so I
no
was like,
problem.
why not?
I mean, as far as religion goes, I would never be unequally yoked. That's what the
Yeah,
Bible
that's-
says.
yeah.
I would because of my Christianity and my belief in Jesus Christ, I would never date someone who did not have
The same beliefs.
that same belief. Now, if it was if we're talking about like a different denomination, like Catholic or,
No, that's a
or
good-
whatever,
That's a good point.
I think
There you
that's
go.
fine. It's that you still believe in Jesus, you still think he's the Son of God, you still believe in grace. Then that's where I'm at.
Well,
Without it, I don't think I could have a meaningful relationship with someone.
As I say, I agree, and I think that's a great distinction to make because there is I think just like you, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in somebody that didn't share that core belief. But yeah, I don't think as far as I mean, Brandon's a Lutheran, and we
Right,
still love
we
him.
love
I know.
him.
But I was gonna say, you know
Yeah.
how we are, how we can be sometimes.
Mhm.
Rock on, Martin Luther.
Now
Just saying.
the Catholics are pushing it a little, but I could still do it if I had to.
No, they've come around. I think they've come around. They've come a long way.
What's better than Pentecostal, right?
I don't know. For the Aaron Ralphs out there.
we got to
No,
get some jabs.
no,
That's all.
To piggyback off
yeah.
what you said, I would agree. I
Yeah.
think, look, I always.
Well, we're all in agreement here.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
For once, you
Huh.
know,
Huh?
that never happens on this show, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
No, we always agree.
Yeah.
Actually, we're gonna get some dissenting.
We've
arguments, I think.
actually, I think more recently we've had disagreements
Yeah.
than we did in the past. So I enjoy that.
But okay, so
Well, with us
specifically
all,
talking
with us
about
all
this,
being
though.
Christian, though, I think.
I got an opinion about the political part too.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, we're
okay.
gonna
Because
get
here's
into it,
the
definitely.
thing. To me, it would be more difficult for me to, if I was like with somebody that was an atheist.
Yeah,
I still think that there would be.
some things you could have in common.
I
and
think
get
there's.
along
Well,
with.
I think we could get along, but I also think that there's still hope that they may one day come to believe. Between the left and the right, there's no hope.
See, I don't know if I'm so pessimistic. I don't know if I'm that pessimistic to believe.
I
that.
think as long as there's
I
a
don't think
mutual
so.
understanding, and the fact that as long as you're not belittling each other for your political ideas, and understand that yes, we differ, but we can agree to disagree and come to have a
Well,
civil
here- okay,
conversation.
No,
One
I'm not
for
saying I
one.
wouldn't be with somebody. I'm just saying I think it's a lot more. I think it's very difficult for someone on one side of the aisle to come over to the other side of the aisle completely. That's what I'm saying.
Well, see-
I think I have a better chance at leading an atheist to Christ than I have a better chance
you
of
serious?
leading a left to the
Really?
right. Yes.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
I would not.
Or
say
vice
that at all.
versa. Or vice
Wow.
versa.
Wow.
Well, okay. For one, going back to real quick the religious, I would agree. I think when it comes down to, I separate it into primary and secondary issues.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
there's tentpole issues that are like,
Yes.
yeah, you have to believe in this, like you said.
Well,
Christ
that
is the
affects your
Savior
whole
of the
marriage.
world.
You have to believe in the
Lord.
That affects even the
Um,
vows that you take for marriage. If you don't even believe in the God who created those vows, then how could
then
you
how
ever
could
believe,
you believe
in
in
the
the
vows?
institution
Yes,
of marriage?
exactly.
Correct. No, I would agree. I think that's a valid point, and that's why I think it's like when it comes down to, for instance, and we jokingly, I said this at the beginning of the show before we were live. I just got a text from my sister
Uh-huh.
who said that my nephew's baptism is coming up this Sunday.
Yeah.
and was like, "Hey, I know it's last minute, but if you could be there, that'd be great."
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And it'd be fun. It was funny because I was like, "Hey, my nephew's getting baptized," and Sean's like, "Oh, that's great," and I was like, "No, you wouldn't think so," and you were like, "Why?"
Why would that not be great?
And I was like, "Because he's a baby."
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden, Sean was kind of like, "Oh, okay," which is fine. It's
and see,
fine.
that's something that maybe I don't entirely know about. I've been told that on the Catholic side, like when you're a baby and you're baptized or whatever, that's
They're
not
christening.
necessarily baptism as the way I would think it to be, but it's more like what Baptists would consider a baby dedication.
Yeah.
Right.
That still at some point you have to
Yeah.
willingly accept Christ and then be baptized in some
they
way.
still when
mean-
they get older, I forget the age when they go through their.
Well, for
My niece-
Lutherans, it's confirmation.
yeah,
That's
it's
what we
okay.
do.
I think that's what it's still called because my niece just went
but,
through it.
but what is that? A
but-
confirmation that you have.
Yeah, that we have
Accepted
received the
that you
gift
have
of the Holy
received
Spirit.
and they still
Right.
get, they still get baptized. Like my niece
Right.
still had to be baptized once she got older and went through all that.
Right.
'Cause, she goes to a Catholic school. And I mean, they talked to her, and I mean, she had to understand what was going on. Like, they wouldn't baptize her unless,
Yeah, and
So,
I have nothing
yeah.
against christening or sprinkling or whatever you want to do to your baby
sprinkling.
to just show that you are going to raise this child in a Christian home,
Right.
with Christian values.
I'm just gonna
and-
get a big
but,
rubber
yeah.
stamp and be like, raised
Raised
by
by Christian. Yeah. Right. I have no problem
But
with that.
even still, even without getting into the weeds,
Yeah,
Sure, yeah. sure.
The point is like there's
differing
That's
opinions.
a secondary
Yeah,
issue,
right,
Yeah, that is.
absolutely.
And to me,
Yes.
there's primary issues that are like, okay, these are the tent poles of which the foundation of my faith is built on,
Yes.
and this is what I believe, and yes, this is something that's going to bring up a point of contention if we disagree on those beliefs. Now, with regards to political views, which I think it's funny that we both went to religious and political right off the bat,
Well,
and I really
it's-
don't know of
yeah.
any other views.
It's your two main-
I mean,
I
you
mean,
got
I
you got
guess
you
you
got
have-
sports too, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, sports and like
Oh
cooking
God! Like
and-
Louisville and Kentucky, talking about like the house divided.
They
kind of
have
thing.
those,
That's
but
true. I know
my-
it works for some people.
my brother David's a U of L fan, and my sister-in-law is a hardcore Kentucky fan, and they make it work. So
Well, and I was gonna say, my dad's a UK fan in a U of L household, and
Yeah.
it's all because we all went there. We were
Yeah.
all UK fans, but
Yeah.
we turned. He didn't turn. But the thing is, so going to the
That's 'cause
political
he's a true
views,
fan.
I would disagree to an extent.
oh,
with
you
you, Sean.
disagree all the way if you want.
Well, because here's the thing, I actually don't think it's that complicated to. It's not to me. I've always, and
You
it's
believe
funny.
converting liberals to conservatives is easy?
Well, for one, I believe there's a difference between liberals and leftists.
No, that's true.
I'm
I'm
no,
saying
that's
I'm
true, that's
saying
true.
leftists.
That is
Yes,
true.
That's what I'm
leftists.
saying.
That is true.
and
I
truthfully,
voted for Obama, so
There you go.
I'll just throw that out there. At one point,
But
I
you weren't a leftist.
I was not a leftist. No,
You've never been.
You believed in
that's
liberal
right.
hope and change. You believed
I
in
thought yes. I
liberal,
thought.
maybe leftist, never.
Never.
But here's the
Never.
thing. Well, but even without getting into the weeds on
Right.
that, it's like to me, I an old conservative talk show host that I really loved, and what has kind of brought me into what I ushered into, I guess, clearer thinking. The way I like to put it is, I prefer clarity to agreement. Is the statement I always try to move forward on when I'm in any kind of discussion with someone
Yeah,
on differing opinions. It's like I'd rather hear your argument and judge you based off the facts or even your bullet points of
Yeah.
what it is you believe,
Yeah.
and I'd rather hear those points and then counterpoint with my own opinions
Yeah.
and with my own facts to back up what it is I think is the best way to live. And it's like I've seen that most people who come to the table and have differing opinions or views, especially in the political realm. Yeah, we've been fed this line, especially since Trump has been voted into office, that there's just no way that
this
we're ever
huge divide.
that
Yeah.
and there is. I think there is a divide. Don't
Yeah,
get me
absolutely,
wrong.
Absolutely.
And I still think there's a lot of people
I
that are
think-
either alienated or there's a lot of people who are definitely they are that point of
Yeah.
contention. But for the most part, I think a lot of people get tired of the rhetoric. They get tired of being tossed into one category or the other. And I think for the most part, a lot of people are common sense, and a lot of people don't want to spend the rest of their days arguing and
Arguing
fighting
over-
an uphill battle.
I agree with that. I see that.
I was gonna say. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just talking about these two extremes because it's just
Yes.
like if you told me that you believed in, and I don't, whatever, judge me if you want. If you told me you believed in abortion, we're never going to come to an agreement on that.
No.
There you
And
go.
That is
There you go.
something
Yeah.
that is something that would completely turn me off from wanting a relationship with you because if you don't believe in the sanctity of life,
But that also goes
then
back
that
to
would
your
be-
religious.
That goes to my religion,
viewpoints.
and I will point out that the further my walk with God has, and my relationship with Him has grown, my views have changed since. Because at one point, I did feel like maybe there's a couple occasions that an abortion would be feasible. And because of my growth in my relationship with God and understanding Him more and receiving some of that wisdom from him and from Scripture and everything else, I have since realized that those views that I held at one point were completely wrong.
See, and I think ultimately that's another. I mean, that's maybe another topic for another time. But I think that's the beauty of being with someone who has differing views is the fact that you never know when your influence could change their perspective.
Right. Ultimately, it's God's influence, but
I agree.
through
But
you,
even then,
maybe
even
through
then,
you.
The fact is I've learned too that it's like you don't go into a relationship or any kind of friendship expecting to change the other person.
No, definitely not. And I think most people, like you were saying, most people living their everyday lives aren't so caught up. Yes, I agree there is a divide, but they're not they're not so caught up in this whole, like you said, unless you're extremely one side or the other. Most people are willing to, like you said, come to the table and talk about it. I mean, we're friends with people that are Democrat or liberal.
Right.
We have a lot of friends with varying different viewpoints, and we never have problems discussing or getting along because
I welcome it.
Well, because we know that at the end of the day, whether you think one way and they think another about the best way to approach, running the government or this or that. At the same time, they know that there's no malice behind our intent, because that's the problem. When you have this extremist on one side or the other, and the media's blasting, well, these people are evil or these people are evil, and when you see politicians get up and basically call each other evil, that's kind of what's being promoted right now. But it's not the case. Not everybody who doesn't think exactly like you is a terrible person.
It's the narrative that they want to sow, and it's like this idea that you have to have this vitriol towards someone who has dissenting opinions, and I think ultimately at the end of the day, I do think just like the primary, secondary issues with religion, it's kind of the same way with political views.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are those tentpole issues like abortion
that you can't move past.
You can't move past.
But there's
and
other
you have
issues.
Your hard line stance on. But for the most part, I still think that most of the discussion that you can have with somebody, for instance, it's like I know, Sean, that even though you would have a dissenting argument with somebody who agrees or who thinks abortion is okay, I know you as a person, you would vehemently disagree with them, but I know that the love and the admiration you would have for them and what you would show them with regards to your own attitude and the way that you would treat them would be nothing with the utmost respect.
Oh, no, I would pray for them.
And to me, exactly. And that's also the way I come away with it, is it's not like, oh, poor pitiful you, I'm so sorry that you believe that, and I gotta pray for
you're
you
an idiot
because you're wrong. No, it's just, look, this is what I believe in. I'm not going to back down. I'm going to tell you what it is I am passionate about, but at the same time, I'm not going to treat you with disdain or disrespect and make you feel less.
But is that
than I?
Knowing that person has those thoughts or those beliefs, that would steer me away from a beginning of a relationship with that person. Now, friendships are different. Now, if we're talking about a romantic relationship,
okay, let's make that differentiation.
As soon as I find out that a woman is like, if for instance my wife, if we would not be married if I started dating her and she on the first date she started talking about killing babies, I'd have been like, I hope you enjoyed your pizza. You're buying. I'm out. Like, that's it. I mean,
man, you
would
have lemon lawed
You would have been like, here, I would have been like, hey, women's lib, you're buying our meal. Like, I would have been out. I mean, but I don't have. That would have ended that courting session right there. Like, that would have. That's not what I'm looking for. But the thing is, and it goes back to religion. More than likely, now there's some so-called Christians out there that still believe in killing babies, and that's what I'm saying. You can't. I don't think you can know God and still believe that it's okay to do that. So I looking for someone who is a real changed Christian is also going to give me ease knowing that she's probably going to have a little bit more conservative viewpoints as far as politics
I was going to say, so again, it goes back to ultimately when you have that discussion of sitting down with whoever it is you may be wanting to spend the rest of your life with, or if it is just a friend, it's like, then of course there's certain things that are going to be more acceptable versus the other.
I could be friends with someone that's crazy left. Like, I could be friends. I mean, if anything, I'd laugh at them. Just be like, dude, you're funny. You want to give everybody $1,000 a month for free. You're funny. Who's going to pay for that? Like, I would laugh, but we could still go smoke a cigar together and talk. But
Well, and
I
okay,
could never be married to somebody like that.
This is and before we get back to that, that's actually a funny point you just brought up about I could laugh at them and enjoy it. Like I honestly that's the contention I see anymore nowadays is if it's a left versus right thing, it's like again maybe it is on your extremist, but it's almost because I would put leftism as almost a religion.
Oh,
And I would say that nowadays you almost have this identity that you can't like. You have people who are atheists, but it's like leftism has become their religion, and so they have these set of values that leftism has bred. That it's like that becomes their set of values, and that is what they eat, sleep, and breathe. And so, in the same way that you would come at them, Sean, and say, "I don't believe in abortion. You're killing babies. This is my Bible to back it up." They'd say, "Well, here's my Bible on the green Earth and why we need to protect it and Mother Earth and we got to be green, 100% green on everything." It's like
Mothership Earth.
Mothership Earth. Yeah, but it's like, but the weird thing is it's like, so to me, I don't see it as like that's most people that I run into, and when I do, yes, I can be friends with them, and I can even respect, their enthusiasm
Something about them.
for. But no, I can respect their enthusiasm for what it is they believe in so much as they respect mine.
You respect
And it's
AOC's
at the moment-
enthusiasm.
So let's.
I can. I don't have a problem with
real
AOC.
quick.
It's AOC who wouldn't want to sit down with me
No,
and
that's
give
true.
me
No,
two
that's
cents
right
to
because
talk.
she's
true.
crazy left.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's my problem is that most of the time I find the arguments on the other aisle becoming so determined to stop me from saying anything and having my own free speech that it's like, look, you could spout whatever it is you want. I have no problem with that. It's when you walk into my house or walk into any event that I'm in and tell me I can't spout something because it doesn't match up with your views.
Right.
Then
so that would be a deal breaker.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Real
100%.
quick, one of the comments that we've received says, and let's take it away from religion and politics.
Yeah.
They suggested vegan versus meat.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually good. I don't buy that. That's a good
I
question.
don't care what you eat as long as you don't try to enforce. Like, if
Right.
we're in a relationship and you're
Yeah.
vegan, I'm like, well, I think that's silly, but go
Right.
for it as long as you're not telling me
Yeah,
I can't. ever eat
I'm
meat
just gonna be
again.
like, honey, the grass is getting tall out there. Go eat.
Go
Cut that
eat.
grass.
no,
I would
You're
agree.
the goat. no, I'm not talking about greatest of all time. Get out there and eat the grass.
I don't care. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like, I really like.
That's not a deal
The reason
breaker.
I guess we went to politics and religion is
Those
because
are
I think
tend
we
to be
both
usually the
understand.
two
one.
deal breakers.
Right.
And yeah, as far as religion goes, yeah, definitely. If the religious views don't align, I mean that's your moral core. That's hard to get past. Politics, I agree. I think I could get past the politics as long as it wasn't like an extremist view
Yeah.
where they couldn't. If you can't come
Right.
together and come to some type of agreement, then it's out the table.
Right, exactly. I mean, as long as you're not threatening to just, you're not holding me
Listen,
hostage.
You
in
go
my-
over there.
Yeah.
You go over there and
Whoa, Sean,
eat your roses.
I'm just thinking
and-
of these. I'm thinking of these two like extreme left and right people.
That'd be a great
like coming
show.
together for sex. And I'm just thinking it'd be like, don't grab me like Trump, and you're like, don't lay there like Hillary. You know what I mean? Like I can just see them fighting even during
Don't
sex.
Kavanaugh me.
Like don't Kavanaugh me. Oh, it's just locker room talk. Like I mean, I can just see all of this happening.
I ain't gonna lie,
like
I bet it
even,
would be-
you couldn't even have sex. It'd
I wanna.
be
I bet it would
violent.
be.
I
I
wanna
bet it would
watch this
be.
show now.
It would
I
be the
bet it would be
worst.
the hottest, most passionate sex
and painful.
that there could be. Oh
Then
yeah,
afterwards, you'd
angry
roll
at
over
each
to
other.
separate sides of the beds and hate each other.
but then you'd come back together and do it again because
think
you
so?
hate each other. It'd be raw passion.
Yeah.
Ooh. Be raw something, but I don't know
yeah.
about passion.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, you'd be raw after you're done.
Ouch.
Ooh. So
That's-
yeah,
well, that went-
I could
that went a
definitely be
different
with
direction.
somebody with differing views. Just saying.
Okay, so what about our listeners? If you have an opinion about that, you can email us or
Absolutely.
Yeah,
comment
absolutely.
or whatever. You want to go over that one more time? How would they
Maybe
do that?
should I go over it one more
Or
Yeah,
are
time?
you
yeah.
done? Keith, did you get everything you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that
What?
Keith? Do you feel violated
I'm
right
not
now?
sure
that
what
okay?
was happening there.
Joe
Do
Biden?
you agree?
I mean, you want me to come sniff
I
your
just-
hair?
Listen. As far as
Listen,
the extremists go, if you're going to be in bed and act like Sleepy Joe, then no. We want some of that burn
Who
going
wants
on.
sleepy?
Right.
Yeah,
I want to feel the burn. I don't want
also-
Sleepy Joe.
I also think from all of our comments, you can kind of tell where we are as far as religion goes and as far as politics.
Yeah,
goes.
yeah. I mean, we're
So,
no shame.
That does
We're
not
not
mean
hiding
that
it.
does not mean
No.
we don't love or respect other viewpoints. We just think that they're wrong.
Right. Right. We have the Bible and science to back us up.
yeah.
So what do you have?
well, and we'd love to talk to you about it.
Yes.
Just come
So
sit down and
email
talk
us,
to
yeah, actually.
Email us
absolutely.
where?
Oh, RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com. It's that simple.
It's not a .org, is it?
No, or
Okay.
a .net.
Oh, okay.
It's right there in the bottom of the screen, Sean. You want to point to it?
Let me look at it.
I don't know.
I did that right.
RMPodcast at
At
redmoonproductions.com.
.com.
Keith.
Okay.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's right.
All right, we got it.
Oh, I think we got it in there. Whew. What a fantastic episode, guys.
I know.
It
We're right
was.
at an hour.
We threw
It's very
like a
good.
crap ton in there with Thanos and Avengers Endgame and all that, and then our relationship talk was pretty heavy-handed.
Yes, that was a good
Safe
one.
to say, I
like
think
that.
you know,
Heavy-handed.
we really do love
Like,
everybody.
like it
though.
has a gauntlet. on
Yeah,
it.
I was thinking that. Huh.
Were you?
Huh.
Hmm.
So, anyways,
I
Good
didn't
show.
know-
Good
I didn't know
show.
where that was going, so I was just gonna let y'all run with
that's
it.
where
If
it
you haven't
went.
seen Avengers Endgame, it's still in theaters. It's probably going to be in theaters for the rest of this year, so go see it.
Absolutely, and if you haven't already, please add to the billions of dollars
Yes,
it's already made
go to the
because we
bathroom
want it to beat.
before the movie
I
starts.
want
Avatar.
everybody to just go see it 5 times because Avatar's been at the number 1 spot for far too long.
far too long,
Far
and it
too
doesn't
long.
deserve it.
It really doesn't. But until next time, of course, as always, like, subscribe, and share all of our social media.
Can I get another Chewbacca?
Oh, yeah,
we
you
need
will.
another one to
You
end
will.
the show.
I will.
Well,
Great.
we'll end
Is
it.
that how we're ending it?
I can't say.
Oh.
I can't
Oh,
say.
wow. We're in the dark here.
Until next time, guys, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.